Well, we are going to get started on this Front-End Mentor project, and for those of you who have been observing the channel, you'll know that I've done the kind of base setup for this before, so we're going to get to play around with this a little bit more, and I think that section of coding is really important. A lot of times it's easy just to kind of do just kind of the requirements, but what I want to do today, if we have the time, is to add in some extra things to this and kind of make it our own in some ways. So I hope you'll enjoy that today. You don't need to. Hey, watching from Greece, awesome. You don't need to have watched the first one to get a lot out of this one. I don't think. We'll mostly be adjusting some of the design and then spending more of our time on JavaScript today. Not totally sure exactly how this will go because I think we'll kind of decide together what we want to do. But again, that's some of the fun of the whole thing. So. Also, thank you so much to those of you. It's crazy to have 10,000 subs. This is not supposed to. It was never supposed to be anything. I really just started throwing out videos on YouTube last year as a way to help myself learn more and as a way to hopefully share some stuff with, especially those who are first learning, because a lot of times I felt like at the time tutorials were kind of over my head, and so I was just trying to do stuff that I would have enjoyed a few months back. So hopefully that's been a help to you, but it's incredible to have as many of you as there are following along, and hopefully I've been able to be a help to you in some way. Hey, welcome from Vietnam. Thanks for joining today. Serbia, excellent. That's great to have so many of you from so many other places. I know it's real early here on in the western part of the United States, and so I would not be surprised if I'm alone over here. But it's so great to do it early enough because then I get to connect with so many of you who live elsewhere in the world. All right, we're going to go ahead and jump in. Let me make sure I switch over everything here. All right, so here's our project from before, and here's the actual challenge page. I'll have a link to this in the description so you can follow along if you'd like to. And then what we're going to do is just build this out over here using the code we kind of already started with. So this is what it's supposed to look like in the end. This is what we've got right now. And I can't remember if I've zoomed in on this. I think I have, yeah. So it's a little zoomed in, but you can see here, basically what we've got it set at is, let's see, that's the desktop version, and here's the mobile version. And we've got it to where if we tab to stuff, it actually highlights some of these things. This is what we set up last time. And what I want to do is, you can see there's a few UI issues here. And then when we get to larger screen sizes, it kind of breaks all together. So if I move out here, you can see that's not right. So we're going to work on that for sure. Why don't we do this though? Let's go ahead and let me create, well, I guess we've got a README. This is probably stuff I'm supposed to pay attention to. But oh, there's that code. I think we stripped out this text so last time, because that's what's supposed to be updated over this way. So let's go ahead and create a little to-do list though. So to-do list, and I'm going to zoom in a bit on this, and let's kind of come up with some stuff we want to do. So first of all, let's see. I want to fix the UI for mobile, and then fix the UI for desktop. This has a weird active state. I think it's supposed to be the daily, so fix the button UI state. Seriala, thanks so much, and thanks for watching from Atlanta. It's early-ish for you, but thanks for watching. Let's see, fix the button UI state. The other thing I want to do is actually have live data for daily, weekly, and monthly. And let's see, last time I think these are just, let's look at the HTML. Let's see. I think last time I just threw these all into a div. Yeah, so they're all just in a div right now. I think what I actually want to do, this is basically like tabs, right? Where you've got different tabs with different data showing. So I think I actually want to convert this to using a tab structure. So convert to tab structure. Here I am saying we're going to work on JavaScript, and look at all this stuff we're doing. We haven't yet touched JavaScript, but I mean, in reality, I guess we don't really need that much JavaScript if we're just switching tabs. So maybe I lied, but maybe we can add some extra stuff as well. All right, so And then we'll add JS to switch tabs. And then maybe if we get around to it, we can do keyboard events for switching tabs. Let's see, I guess we could also, at the very end here, if we have time, we could load data live or something like that. Maybe we'll bump that up and not duplicate our work twice here, but I think that's a decent list. If there's something else you can think of, especially if you watched the last one, let me know, but we're kind of more in the refinement stage here. I will go ahead and add code eventually down in the description to this, so if you're watching this at a later date, you can grab that from GitHub if you want to follow along with me. All right, so let's kind of go one at a time. Let's see. Let me get down to the mobile UI and just make sure that everything mostly works. And we'll kind of tick these things off one at a time. So we get to about here. That's when it gets funky. So we're not going to call that mobile. So do we even have mobile UI problems? I guess not really, but we should probably at least switch out this data to be what it's supposed to be. So if we go to the mobile design, see mobile design right here. That looks pretty similar to what we've got here. We're kind of guessing on fonts and stuff because I don't have the design file, and that's what Frontend Mentor usually tells you to do, just to guess on the font sizes and things like that if you don't have the design file, which you have to pay for. So I do not have that. But what we're going to do is you can see here that if you do weekly, then it shows week stuff. If you do monthly, it shows month stuff. If you do daily, it shows daily stuff. And daily is what I've got here. So I need to change around some things. So maybe what we could do for the mobile design here is just make sure that this button UI state is correct, and we'll call that one done. So let's bump this up to the top, and I'll come back over here. Let's see, where are my buttons? So active. So I put monthly as active, and this should be daily, which I think we're going to switch this around how we do this if we're going to move to tabs anyhow. But now you can see that that is active, and that's what I want to see. All right, the other thing would be to switch out the actual data here. And this is where I'm kind of struggling to know if we should just load it in live now. But I think let's go ahead and just stick to our original plan, just in case for some reason it takes me a really long time. I don't want to waste all of our time just doing that. So here we are. This is for each of the sections. So I'm going to grab this and this, I think, for all these. Yeah. So you can see here what I've got is just a clipboard manager where I can copy stuff in, and then I'll paste it out in the same order that I copied it in. I'd love to know what you're working on these days, if you've got a project you're working on, especially if there's something you need help with. If it happens to coincide with something I can do, I'm happy to do what I can to be a help. All right, so here we go. The work one should be fine, so I don't know why I'm expanding that. So let's close that one. Let's come in here to play. And let's see, switch this out and just kind of paste these back in the order that I just did them in. Let's see, close that one. There's the one. It's like, why is nothing changing? Study. Let's see, 0 hours previous. Okay, and then let's see, study right here. I just keep expanding the round. 102. Remind me of that. 102. That's the line number. One thing I'm giving some thought to is exactly what the channel looks like going forward here. In many ways, what I'd like to do is spend a little bit more time on better projects, and rather than just putting stuff up. Let's see, what did I just do while I'm talking? Social. So I forgot to see my new line number. 148 is the next one. And so what I'm giving careful thought to is exactly what the channel should look like. I like streaming just because it gives me the chance to actually code stuff out live. I still forgot the line number. There we go. If I come back over here now, all this should be ready, which is cool. Now, this says previous for all these. What does the actual... This is last week. So did I copy the wrong thing? I don't think so. If I did daily... Oh, it says previous there. Okay, so we can switch those over. So what I'm going to do is search for previous and then that dash. And for all of these, let's just replace these with yesterday and this dot, because I think that's what I did for all the other ones. There we go. Okay, cool. But yeah, that's what I'd like to do, is to actually just do probably one big project a week, or bigger project a week, and then code maybe every other week, something like that. To do app, all the HTML is generated dynamically by JavaScript. It's quite challenging, at least for me. Are you using some kind of framework, Goggins, or is that, are you doing that all with vanilla JavaScript? Hey, Jimmy. I'm doing well. Good to see you here. All right, so what are we doing here? We did this. Fix UI for mobile. Well, we cheated because there wasn't really much to do, so there we go. Now we feel better already. Okay, so let's come in here, and I think we're going to have similar issues here where I think we can just dynamically change around some of this, the sizing for some of this. So let's open our CSS file, and let's come in here. And I guess first of all, I need to remind myself what these things are. So we just called these things cards. Cards, time cards. But it's probably the time card here. So time card. Let's see, top. I don't, it's been actually a little bit since I did the first part of this project, so you're going to be learning along with me. So that's the advantage of me having done stuff a little earlier. So it's probably the actual, see, top, bottom, and these need to stretch all the way down. Or actually, it's probably this master grid that's the problem. So this card, this container is probably the issue here. So let's go container, flex wrap. It's fine. It's children, though. Align items start. That should pull that stuff up. Except, oh, I forgot I'm column here. So what we'll do is take this, and I'm pretty sure I have some containers and media queries down here. So here's where we'll do this. So on small sizes, it should be fine. Once we get here, let's see, it is stuck all the way to the side. Did we have that problem before? Let's check. Yeah, we did. Okay, so that's another issue. The container itself, the body has padding all the way around. Container itself, max width 100%. We'll have to figure that out. Maybe it's just how the dev tools are just, yeah, okay, so there we go. Maybe it was just dev tool problems. Okay, so we probably do need a, I think maybe let's actually change the size to more like 680 here. And we'll just leave it in a single column up until that point. And then that way we don't, you know, most phones will fit inside there. Maybe what we can do is just stretch that. But for now, we're going to call that pretty good. When I get here, now they should go all up top there. Now, this one here, I'm guessing is giving me all this height, probably because I put some weird padding on this. So yeah, all the vanilla JavaScript, Goggins. Learn React soon. Yeah, well, there's some great projects out there. The Net Ninja, who I've done some videos for before, I think out of the courses and things I've done with React, I think his is the best. But I would like to, one of the things I'd like to do is do some more React. Well, some React. I haven't done any yet on the channel. And so probably I'll do a to-do app at some point. So hopefully that'll be a help to you as well. But that's awesome. Actually building out your own to-do app is really important, or any project like that from scratch, because it forces you to ask questions and to figure out what you know and what you don't know. And a lot of times you feel like you know something until you actually get around to asking questions and realize like, huh, I don't actually know what I'm doing, even though I thought I did. But you don't get to discover that unless you just do it yourself. So I think that's super important. All right, so let's grab this card avatar top. Did I say bottom? I need top. Here we go. This is the weird padding issue. So maybe let's just do this. Are these supposed to be the exact same size? Maybe, in which case, maybe I was premature in changing that. So let's come back up here and Let's get rid of that so they all stretch. And then it's just a matter of making sure that these things are align items bottom. So let's do that. So time card bottom and card large. That doesn't seem like I did that right. Let's come in here, time card bottom, position relative, display grid. Let's align self end and see if that fixed our problems. No, it didn't. Okay, so let's come back in here. Let's just do it here in the dev tools. That did nothing for us. We'll come inside here. And let's see, are these flux containers? Display block. So how do I have this laid out? So this top section, I don't remember all of how I did this. So what if I throw display flex on this? How about just display grid? Because that should push it down. And looks fine here. Yeah, so that works. So if I just come to the card, the time cards themselves. So let's go find the time cards and throw a display grid on that, and I think we should be done with that time card. And I just want a time card, people. Card large. How am I missing this? Time cards. Well, I don't see it, so time card. Say display of grid. I guess I could have come in here and actually looked here as well. Time card. Maybe I just had it on card. Oh, I didn't have anything. Well, there we go. Okay, so I think we're set there. Except now it looks really kind of funky down this way. The way this cuts off. So let's see, we've got some extra padding here that we're kind of artificially adding. So let's go back to our avatar. Let's see, what is this thing called? Avatar top. There we go. And we'll come in here and card our avatar top. Here we go. And we'll put this back to like 2 rem or something like that. Or, you know what? Can we just get rid of this altogether and let the thing stretch? And then what we can do is come to this top section and say align items center. No, that's not what I want. There we go. All right, so that way it should stretch a little bit more naturally. And maybe that's more or less fixed for this larger size too. What I can do then for this top section is, let's see how I did this. This is called learning with Chris, what we did last time. Position relative. How do I get the size on this top section? So I think I just added padding. That was pretty much it. Okay. So why don't we do this? If we made that whole thing a grid section. So time cards. Just the time card here. Then what I can do is say grid template rows. And here what we want is maybe like 1 FR and 3 FR. And that way they kind of naturally take up that space. Let's see, and do I have some kind of gap in between these? Nope. Let's come back over here though. Overflow hidden. Take that off. And then it should fit better there. And then what I can do is just add that to the time card. So let's do that. So we'll say overflow hidden. And so it caps it there, maybe. What else did I take off though? The overflow hidden on the top, which is this time card small. Or I think what we did is we had 2 separate classes here last time. And we ended up using them both. So time card top, here we go. And we can say overflow hidden, get rid of that. So I think that should fix our UI problems on desktop. So there we go. And then as we get smaller here, it snaps down. Okay, So we're going to call that good for the UI stuff. Let's come back over here, and we just did this. Live data. Maybe I meant here actual having the data. So let's convert this to tab structures, and let's see, aria tabs. That's not what I want. Example. I've done tabs before on my channel as well, but I don't totally remember everything I did. So let me come in here, and then if I can't figure out what I did, then I'll go look at my own project, which happens way more frequently than I'd like to admit. Accessibility icon in the inspector. Hey, Jimmy, I'm glad you liked the Warp Terminal video. Sorry, I'm just seeing all these comments. Building dashboard in Svelte.js. I would love to work on some Svelte. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I'm trying to really nail down React, and then I kind of move on from there. Accessibility icon, let me check. If you come in here, I think it's under Elements. Actually, if you hit Command-Shift-P and just search for accessibility, you can pretty much look for anything with Command-Shift-P in the DevTools, and then I think you click Enable Full Accessibility Tree, and I think it gives you this, and then you can click on that, and it gives you this full tree. I think that's how you do that. All right, if I come in here, though, you can see that I've got a tab list. This should be around the buttons, and then each of these tabs, each of these buttons should have a role of button. Already selected true, already selected false. Tab index -1, so already controls the tab panel. Okay, that's right. So what we're going to do is come back to our HTML, and let me actually zoom out just a touch so we can see more of what's going on. And I'll close down, let's see, play. Okay, so here we go. So what we're going to do is grab all of these here, and I guess what I can do is just come in here and say role tab list, and then and what we'll do is say aria label and do something like dashboard for, let's see, what would we call this? Time tracking, like daily, month, weekly, and monthly. Time tracking the sections or something. Yeah, Command-Shift-P in the DevTools, Jimmy, that's where it's at. I never know where anything is. I just hit Command-Shift-D and start typing. Hey, you're welcome. We'll just do like cross sections or something. Okay, so now these all need to be, let me come in here for all these, and we'll say role is tab, and then aria selected will equal false, and then we'll change this one to true because it is selected to start with, and then tab index is -1. Now I'm trying to think, so when the tab is not selected, so only one selected tab. Okay, so what we'll do is set this to tab index equals, actually this one should be fine, so I don't need one there because it's active. So whenever it's not active, we don't want to be able to tab to it, and I'm trying to remember why. Since the HTML element is used for the tab, it's not necessary to set it to tab index 0. This approach to managing focus displays the section on roving tab index. Okay, so we'll probably change this around. So just as they hover over them, I don't remember how we did that. So maybe for now, let's get rid of that for now, just because I think that's gonna create more work right now than we need. All these divs, which are these sections here, are gonna be tab panels. But the reality is really what I want is this to be a tab panel here. So tab panel, and this needs to have some ID that it references. So why don't we just do like daily tab, or let's do this. Let's do tab daily, and then this needs to have an ID, and we'll give it panel daily. And then what we'll do up here is, actually let's just copy all this. And basically what we're doing is linking up these buttons to these different tab panels. So this tab panel will now be, let's see, that's not right. What I need here is a role of tab panel, and then ARIA labeled by. So this is ARIA labeled by. Pretty sure that's how I do it, right? Yeah, right here. ARIA labeled by, and then that. Okay. So then what we're going to do, that has a role of that. Nope. Down here. We're going to point this to, this will be tab daily, and this will be pointed to panel daily. And this will be controls, I think. Yeah, ARIA controls. So ARIA controls. Now, not only is this good for accessibility, but it's also good for just Google itself and like your web page understanding how the content is to be connected and laid out. Why am I streaming in 720p? I don't know. I'm not supposed to be, so I'm not sure. I want to try to figure that out right now, but I will try to check into that for next time. Sorry about that. All right, come back in this way. So what we've done now is we've basically hooked this up, and maybe let's make this a little easier to read. So it should have a role of tab. It is currently selected. ARIA controls points to the panel. The ID is so that the panel can reference it. And then all the rest of this is just stuff. All right, so what we're going to do is do the same exact thing on, let's see, on each of the other sections, which we don't yet have. Let me make sure there's nothing else I need to do here, though. Tab index 0. So here it's actually saying that they should be able to tab to the panel itself and read what's going on here. So tab index 0. So that basically the first two would be accessible by tabbing. Oh, so we'll have to figure that out. But that at least gets us some place to start. All right, so let's come in here, and what I want to do is go ahead and copy this down. Now, is there some kind of way to hide? Let's see, how do they do this? Do they hide these panels? They just give it a class is hidden. And then I'm guessing do something in the CSS to hide that. Let's see. Let's do is, or else do hidden. Displayed on. Okay, well, there we go. So I think, what if we just did ARIA hidden equals true? And then when it's ARIA hidden equals true, we don't show it. Or something like that. I think that's what I'll do. All right, so let's take all this and let's copy this down. Which is kind of messy right now. But what we basically need to do is update this based on whether or not it's daily, monthly, weekly, whatever. So what I'll do is come in here and we'll change this to, let's see, this here and this here. We'll change this to weekly. And then what I'll do is let's just get rid of this, both of these, and copy this down to speed this up a bit. So 1, 2, and here I come in here and grab weekly. Actually, I can do all those together, weekly. And I have an extension that capitalizes this, and we'll keep these lowercase. So that makes that a little easier. And then for all these, we'll say monthly. I think that was our numbers. Now you can see here we've got so many cards just because of the way we've got this all laid out. But we'll fix that here in a second. So why don't I just come in here first of all. The only thing that really needs to change is the whole yesterday, today, all that kind of stuff. So let's do this. Let's just expand all of them out. We'll start with the bottom one, so it's a little easier to see what's going on. And then we'll do the same thing we did earlier where we just copy this stuff in slowly. All right. I know it's not the most exciting thing to watch, but it is part of projects. So you're welcome to hang out and watch this later if you'd like to, but we're just having fun this morning. All right, 4 hours. So we'll do the weekly first, and then we'll go and do the monthly after that. Again, this is just a clipboard manager that allows me to paste sequentially, which is kind of nice. Let's see. Hopefully I did all that right. Come back over here, and let's start at the top. Let's see. I want to make sure I'm getting this correct. Okay, so let me close down this avatar. I don't need all that. Daily time cards in here. Did I collapse this? Okay, so I did collapse this whole section. Okay. Maybe let's start to actually, so this will be daily. Put some notes in here so I know kind of what I'm actually doing. And this will be weekly. All right, so inside here, this is what I'm changing out, this 32 hours. And then I'm going to change these previous to last week for all these, but for now we're going to call that good. Here as well. And should it be changing these or collapsing these? Maybe let's do that as we go. Close both of those. Come in here to the study. Close that down. Nope. Study right here. Exercise 1 hour. Social. Like suddenly this music got very zen. This is not a meditative coding session. All right, so there we go. And then what I want to do is change the previous dash like that. And we'll change this to, let's see, last week. Change all those out. Okay, cool. So let me come back here to this work section. And then we're going to go ahead and grab all of this. And actually, let's just grab the comment too and drop this down. And then here we're going to say monthly. Monthly, like that. I'll come back up top here and let's close down some of this right here. Okay, and then we can just change this out here and here for our monthly. And that should point to the right thing up top. Now let's go ahead and grab one last time here all the items that we need down below. So this is for last month. 23. I'd like to know when do you guys like watching live streams? Do you do it while you work? Do you like pay super close attention and try to follow along? I tend to be somebody who just kind of has it on in the background and then listen to what they do, and every now and then kind of jump in and pay attention and, and sometimes just do kind of my own thing. But I don't know if that's normal or or how people typically listen. I don't know that that would dramatically change what I do on the stream, because mostly I'm just doing this to have fun, and I enjoy kind of coding live. I think it's exciting. It's fun to do live. It changes the coding quite a bit, and I think it helps too if you're first learning to realize that like everybody makes dumb mistakes or some things just take forever. Oops. Now, having to talk through it definitely makes me way slower than I am just by myself, but sometimes it makes me make less errors too. So it might even out in the wash. I'm not really sure. Exercise, social, we're getting close. All right, and then I think we should be able to focus in on JavaScript after this, or at least handling kind of the events of how stuff display. Okay, so that should be everything. Now what we can do is, let's see, are you hidden true for all these? This one could be false. And then what we can do is grab any, let's just work off these tab panels. So let's go to the very bottom. This is going to be really disorganized. Usually I just, rather than like being super particular about keeping everything perfect while I'm building it out, usually I just build out stuff as it comes to me, and then I go back and take a few minutes and organize it. And I find that does better than like having to be perfect the entire time, because then I just, then I spend all my time organizing code, not writing code, and I'd much rather write code. So we'll come in here and grab anything with the role of tab panel, and we'll say that if it has an aria expanded, or no, aria hidden equals true, then I want to do display of none. All right, so there we go. So that should hide all of that. See, these all have active states on them, which they should not. So let me come back into here. Connection lost. Hopefully that's not my current keyboard. Here we go. So button active, button active, button active. I don't need all of those. That one doesn't need an active, and that one doesn't need an active. Okay, so this should work now where we have daily, and what we want to do is just control for these. So let's go ahead and grab, let's see, I think the best thing to do would be just to loop through these, I guess. And we could do this as like a class, a JavaScript class, where we pass this in as an instance, but this is a single dashboard, so I'm not going to have multiples of these in this project, so maybe let's not make more work for ourselves than we need to. Do I have a JavaScript file? No, I don't. So let's do that. But first of all, let's come get that endorphin rush and take that one off here. Data did that too. So add JavaScript to switch tabs. So let's do that and come back over here. I'm just going to add this right here. So we'll do, let's just do app.js and we'll console.log something. And come over here just to make sure we got everything hooked up properly. And let's see, I'll just come up top here, I think, and I'll just link it in here. So I'll do script, src, and we'll do app.js, and we'll do a type of module, which will also defer it to the end of the body, which means if I come over here and I pull up the console, something should be there, and it is. Okay, so what we need to do is, first of all, loop through these possible tabs and kind of go from there. So let's go ahead and grab what we need, and maybe let's just mark out some steps. So get access to all tabs and panels. Then what we want to do is on selection of tabs, show panel. All right, and then eventually maybe stuff like keyboard events. Let me zoom in just a touch. Hey, currently working at a software company as a React developer. Keep learning, never seen tricks. Hey, well, thanks. I'm glad that's a help to you. And I'm sure you're twice the developer I am if you're working professionally on React. I don't. I just do coding in my spare time, but I do enjoy it a lot. And I've learned a lot over the years, and I'm glad to be able to share that. I do client work occasionally on, like, just single sites and stuff like that, but it's not what I do professionally, so I'm honored that I can do something to be a help to you. So let's come in here and say, let's do tabs here, document.query selector. What we want is all the tabs. And here, let's see, what do I need? I need anything with a role of tab, right? That should be correct, and that should give me those three. In fact, if I come in here, there we go, these three. That's a node list. I don't know if I'm going to need these as an array rather than a node list, but I might, so let's just go ahead and grab that like that. And then let's copy this down. We'll do the same thing, and here we'll say panels, and this has a role of tab panel, I think. Let's see, is that right? Let's check that out. Yeah, so it should be these three, and just some of them are hidden in the UI. All right, so I've got access to all the tabs and panels. Wow, I'm not sure we needed to write that, but I'm glad we did. And now what I want to do is do a loop through these tabs. So for each tab, we'll do tab to add event listener, and I'm going to listen for a click. And that should grab our keyboard events as well. And then let's pass this to something called like handle tab click. And let's come up top here and write that function. So function handle tab click will take in the event, which gets passed to us naturally. What I want is, let's see, if you remember, it has an attribute called controls. So I think if I grab that, so let's do panel to control or something like that. Then I can do, let's see, e.current target. That should get me the actual, the tab that was clicked. And then dot get attribute. I think that's a thing I can do. We'll do aria controls. And then just to make sure that that is working as we'd expect, let's grab all of this and let's console log that. So if I come in here and click here, hey, panel daily, panel weekly, panel monthly. Okay, cool, that's what I want. So now that I've got that, I need to do two things. One would be I need to hide any panels that don't have that as an ID. So maybe let's just do this. Let's just loop through the panels. So we'll say panels.for each. We'll just call it panel. I'll say panel.has, nope, panel.id. If it equals panel to control, then panel.set attribute. And the attribute we want to set is that aria hidden. And we're going to set that to false. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's do panel.set attribute. And here is where we'll do the ternary. So we'll say in here, panel.id, somehow I have an extra something. What I want to do is just set this to either true or false. So let's get rid of all that. Okay, there we go. So if it equals that, then what I want to do is set this to what? True? No, false. Otherwise, I want to set it to true. Did I do that right? Let's see. Hey. Cool stuff's happening. This previous I forgot to switch around, so let's do that. So previous with the dash. Let's get rid of that and say last month. And now if I come in here, last month. Okay, so we've got some styling issues there we can work out. Now I should be able to come in here though and just tab to all those. Cool. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. Now, there were some extra, like the tab indexing and all that kind of stuff, because right now I can select this panel. I'm kind of trying to think what would be better to spend our time on. I think maybe rather than spending time completely on just accessibility stuff, although I think it's important. When I did my tab video, I was really insistent on trying to do all that to spec as best as I could. But I think in this case, that's a little tedious, and I think we might be better served to worry about keyboard events here. So maybe let's do this. We'll come over here to my tab index equals 0 thing, and let's just go ahead and remove all of these for now. Oops, like that. So now I shouldn't be able to tab to those, but I can tab inside here. And those also don't look great. How are those laid out? Interactive button. ARIA label. Oh, class button. Here we go. So, where's my CSS? CSS. Let's look at this class button. And let's see. Display. Do I have this as a display anything? Let me lower that music some. Sorry. Display grid. Let's do place items center. And now if I tab in these, there we go. That's better. Okay, and those still work too. So yeah, let's do that. Let's worry about keyboard events next. And I think I guess I also, as a basic accessibility, I need to switch these as well. Because right now, these all say ARIA selected true, which is a lie. So let's do that. And you know what? Let's also switch up the CSS just slightly. So let me come up top here and I'll say that again and hopefully make sense. Okay, so here we go. ARIA selected false is what we'll say here, and false. And then the other thing I want to do is actually take off this active class. This is something that really helps me when it comes to accessibility. If I focus on using accessibility, then I don't have to have random classes like active or whatever. I can just use the actual thing like ARIA selected. Is it selected? Well, then show it as selected. If it's not, then don't. So it makes more sense too. So let's see, button active, I'm guessing. Active. Okay, so all we have to do here is basically say ARIA selected true. This should be focus visible, I think. And now, once it's selected, right? not already selected. Let's see, is that? Well, what was that? Already selected, true. That should work. What if I change this to false? Yeah, okay. Oh, I haven't switched it out. Yeah, so I have to actually switch them. All right, so now what I have to do is come in here and after, let's see, get panel to show. And then here we're going to loop through all panels and hide show correct panel. And then next, let's update the ARIA label for correct button. So we'll do the same thing here, except here what we're going to do is take our tabs, and we'll say for each tab, if tab dot, let's see, what I want is if the tab is the current index, or the current target, e.current target, then, and let's do this in another ternary a little bit different like we did before. Okay, so what we're going to do is say tab dot set attribute, and it'll be ARIA selected, and we'll set this in backticks to if it equals current target, then we want this to be ARIA selected true. Otherwise, we want this to be false. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So if I click here, that one should change, that one should change, that one should change. Cool. So we're doing the same kind of thing where we're basically looping through all of our tabs now, and we're just saying, hey, set the attribute ARIA selected to either true or false based on whether or not it is the thing that was just clicked on. So if it was just the thing clicked on, it should switch. If it's not, it should remove itself if it needs it. All right, so let's open back up our README and JS to switch tabs, done. Keyboard events for switching tabs. Let's do that next, and then we'll kind of see where we're at time-wise. All right, keyboard events for switching up our tabs. Let's come over here, and what I want to do is let's just say window.add event listener. We'll listen for key down event, and we'll grab the event itself. Actually, let's just do this. Let's do handle key down event or something like that. And yeah, I think that'll work. Let's come back up here. We'll do function key down event, and let's see, what I want is, let's just console.log the e.key, and then you can see here if I come in here and hit any key, you can see them being printed out below. So what we're going to do is grab this in here, but what I want to know first of all is what the active element is. So let's do const act l equals window.active, there's a document.active element, and then let's see, let's grab this and console like that. Okay, so if I come over here and press any keyboard event, it's now telling me what's active, which was the body. So here, if I now press the keyboard event, it should be that button. If I move over here, same thing, it should be the button. So I want to know whether or not this has a role of tab. I think that should work. So let's do that. So we'll say active L, let's see, if act L dot has attribute role. Let's see, how would I do that? I think it's just like role tab like that. No, well, I didn't finish this off. Then we'll return and we'll say if it doesn't have that. So otherwise, I don't think this is going to work in here. Okay, so what we're going to do is hit over. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do with itself. Okay, so it never gets past this at all. So let me console.log instead here. We'll say act L. Well, some of this music is kind of annoying. So sorry about that. Act L.has attribute. And let's see. True if an attribute is qualified name, it's qualified name, otherwise false. Let's just look up has attribute MDN. Forget how this works with something. Like I can't just say role. Attribute and a name. Oh, that's the polyfill. Specific attribute or not. See, I guess we could just do it by class, because they should all have the same class. So they all have a button class. Qualify name, because if I just say role here, that works for those. Well, I guess the only other thing that has a role, and this would be bad for a real project because you're going to have other things with roles, but so maybe let's just add a class and go from there. So I'm going to grab this, this, and this. We'll say like button tab or something like that. Or let's just call it tab. All right, so back over here, all that consternation to say if the act l.classlist dot contains. There's a contains and an includes. Contains starts with the C, so that's how I remember that class list contains. I think I got that from Wes Boss, but that's been a big help to me. But if it contains the class of tab, then return. And because I threw this bang on it, it should do the opposite. So I should be able to come in here and say console.log, I'm a tab. Oh, gotta use correct quotes here. I'm a tab, like that. And it should only get through if it's a tab. So now I hit over, it should say tab, tab, perfect. Over here, I hit arrows or anything on my keyboard and nothing's happening. All right, so now what I want to do is, let's see, the active L, that should be part of the array of my tabs. So what I can do is do a switch statement. See, the only arrows I care about are left and right too. So I can also, let's just do this. Let's do a switch statement based on the e.key. And I always forget the switch statement, JavaScript. I forget the syntax on this without checking, so. Okay, so like that, and then case, that's right. So case, and here we want inside here. So case, I want arrow left. Is that how that's done? I think, maybe. And let's just console.log left, and then we'll break from it and do the same thing for arrow right. Arrow right, and then we'll console.log right. Otherwise, we'll come down here and say default is just return, not request animation frame, return. Okay, so I think that should work. If I come in here we are, right, left. Cool. So now what I want to do is figure out which one is the active. There's basically a couple possibilities. Let's see, the way I've got these buttons set up, they're siblings to each other. So that means I can just grab the sibling next to it and focus in on that. So let's do that. So let's say arrow left. If I'm on this one or this one, I just want it to move to the next or the previous sibling. So we'll say if it's arrow left, let's see, the current, so if the active L is index, yeah, let's do that. So we'll say if active L is the same as the tabs.0. So the very first item. Then I want to return, let's see, tabs. Can I do this at syntax yet? I don't think so. At -1, eventually I think we'll be able to do that. Maybe I can, but for now we'll just say want tabs.length -1 .focus. Maybe. Let's try that. So if I come over here and hit over, yeah, there we go. Now it doesn't actually select it, so let's maybe break out e.current target. Maybe we could break that out, but I also want to focus it. So let's just say otherwise. Let's first of all just get the basic stuff in here. Otherwise, so it'll jump all out of this and be done. And the only way we get through this is if it's not the first one that's been clicked on. Otherwise, we're just going to go tabs, act L. See the active element. That should work, right? See, what am I wanting to do? I could just grab the previous element sibling, right? So act L dot previous element sibling dot focus. All right, so let's try that. So come over here, I hit the left arrow, it goes there, left arrow again, left over. Okay, so I should just keep moving. Cool. So that works. Obviously, we need to do more than focus it, but let's just start with that. And then I'll come in here, and if it's right, then what I want to know is basically if this, change this to 0, if it equals the last one, then I just want to focus on the first one. Otherwise, I want the next element sibling. Right? So right arrow, left arrow, hey. And I guess I don't really want to select it, right? I just want to focus it, because then I want to select it actively rather than immediately switching to the data. I think that makes most sense. So yeah, we're going to call that done. And then nothing else should work. So if I come over here, and I can still tab, but it just jumps me over that way. Yeah, I think that works. And then I can just manually select it when I want to. All right, so let's take stock of where we're at. First of all, we can get rid of all this stuff. We don't need that anymore. We've done everything. How did we already mark off keyboard events for switching tabs? Well, that was cheating, but now we're set. Okay, so I think that's good for me. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. Got keyboard events in there, tabbing in there. Let's see, I guess we could technically come in here for both of these. If it's error right, we're going to e.prevent default, just in case it like will scroll the screen or something like that. Yeah. And anything else we could do with that event itself? I don't think so. At least not that I can think of. All right, so we'll call that good. Now, loading live data. That's our next section. Do I have time to do that? Maybe. All right, so if I don't, if I don't, then I'm going to go ahead and end this stream now for future people. So thanks for watching. Otherwise, we'll see what we can do. So I've got this live data, and I've got, looks like work. This is going to take a little bit more time than I probably have, but let's just throw caution to the wind and see what we can do. So we'll go ahead and have, I think probably the easiest thing to do. Let's just grab all this content here. Not there. Let's grab all this content here. Let's see. Actually, let's just grab the last one. So what I'm going to do here is basically template out all this stuff using JavaScript instead. We'll just use vanilla JavaScript rather than using React or something like that, even though that would be a lot faster. But I think just for the sake of our time here, Get rid of that. And then I think what I'll do is actually leave this in as like sample data. And normally maybe we could just blank this out for now or something like that. Maybe we should do that. Because I don't really think it needs to like have like some kind of crazy loading state or anything like that. I think what we could do just for sake of time, let's maybe grab all of these and then just do like dash or maybe it's just like dots, something like that. And then for this, let's see, 0, we have a 1 hour right here. We'll do the same thing. So it's just going to load in that data. In fact, I guess let's grab all these and add it like that. So it's just going to load in that data and then update that right away. So I'm not going to be too precious about that. As I click on that, though, you can see there's no other panels. Okay, so let's come back into our app.js and let's kind of break out all of these. So this will be, maybe what we should do is call this like tabs.js. And then let's create another one that we'll call fetch.js. These are horrible names. Console.log, something. Okay. And then maybe what we'll do is have an app.js where we just, yeah, let's just import. And I'm going to have to come in here. Now, let's see, there's a couple ways we could handle this. Let me just, this should connect here. Yeah, so I think if I just maybe wrap this. Let's not overcomplicate life, because I don't want to have to worry about structuring this whole thing out in a way that makes sense. Not that it would really be that hard, I guess, but let's just keep it real simple. Let's go back to app.js. I already said we didn't have time, and here I am adding extra random stuff. So let's just come down below this, and here we'll say like loading live data. And I do have on here this as a sample. So that's good. We can use that. And I'll comment that out for now. The first thing I want to do, though, is let's go ahead and do window.add event listener. We'll do DOM content loaded. I guess we don't really have to do that. Let's just do a function that says like fetch live data or something like that. And we'll run this right away. So I guess we can make it an iffy, or maybe we could just run it fetch live data like that. And then what I want to do is, let's see, this needs to be an async function, and we'll say fetch. Here, what I want to fetch is the, let's see, data.json. And I guess I could set this up with something like JSON server. Data.json. Maybe let's start just with what we've got, and then we can go from there. So let me go ahead and, oops, console.log this to start with. There we go. Okay, cool. So we're getting something, and then I can just say, let's just keep this at data, I guess. And then we'll say const body equals data. Let's see, data.json. I always forget how to do this, even though I do it all the time. I don't know why. There's certain things that like I remember super easily. Like most of that, I never looked up anything. But basic fetch JavaScript, the beginner stuff. What do I do? Then response to JSON. Oh, so I was right, maybe. It's needs to be awaited. Okay, so I was right. I just capitalized it. Details. All right, so come in here. Now that I've got all this stuff, let's actually look at it. Yeah, in here. So we've got titles for each of these sections, and I know that each of them are going to have different time frames. So let's scaffold this stuff out and maybe talk out what it should look like. So let's see, for each of these, we're going to send them to their objects. So I think what we'll do is just basically we'll loop through each object. So loop through each object. Well, let's talk about what we're going to do rather than just looping. And generate. So what we'll need is templates for each, because they're all going to be different here, you know, whether or not they have like this blue border or whatever. And I think that's just based off classes. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just have to filter out. So let's do this. Loop through each object and filter out the daily, monthly, and weekly. So we're going to send each of those things into an array. I think that's what we'll do. Because at that point, I guess we could do an object. Let's just do, yeah, no, we'll need an object, so we're going to need like the type on it. So hopefully that makes sense. So what we're going to do is loop through each of those and basically restructure out this content in a way that makes sense for us. So let's first of all, let's take the body itself, and I want to filter, I want to map, because I want them to be, okay, so let me stop talking and start doing something. So let's just call this whatever, map for now. And then we'll say body.map, because it is an array, right? Isn't that what I got back here? Yeah, I got an array. And what I want to do, let's leave that there, I guess, is I want to map through each of the items. And for each of them, I want to scaffold out. Maybe let's just do this. Let's just break it out like this. So we'll say daily, maybe daily data. How about that? And what we're going to map through is, I guess each of these would be the object that is the type. So let's just keep it like that. So we'll do the type, and then what I want is type dot time frames dot daily. Right? I think that's all I need. So now I should get these. It's current, previous. Yeah. So let's actually return an object instead. Like this. GitHub Copilot. Yes, I have. It's helpful for stuff like this, but with live projects, I a lot of times prefer just to keep it like this, so that way it's more realistic to having to actually think it out myself. But when I'm actually building out projects for clients or stuff like that, or not learning, I do turn it on. So let's see. I want to return an object, and this is going to have two things. It will have, let's do like hours or something like that, or what do we call that? Time frames? JSON. Daily, so current and previous. That's fine. Let's just call it time. So we'll say the time is the, does that work? And then title will be the type dot title, because I think they all had that property on them as well. Let's see if that works. Nope. Type. Okay, so they should all have time, and then they should all have title. So I think that works. And then we'll do the same thing here for weekly and monthly. Yeah. There's a quicker way, or like a more compressed way to do this, but I think, and maybe let's start here. So we'll go weekly. weekly data, and I think this was weekly, and then we'll go monthly data, and this was monthly. And then let's console log the daily data, the weekly data, and the monthly data, just to make sure I'm actually getting what I think I am. Okay, so there we go. This should give me current, previous. Monthly should be more, quite a bit more, and then weekly should be more. So I'm just kind of reorganizing this data to where it makes sense, to where I can pass this in to some kind of function that then generates all these. So I guess too, yeah, I think that should work. So I've done that. I guess we can just leave it there though. Hey, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoy the videos. I considered using NeoVim at some point. No, I haven't. Maybe one of these days, but I have not. Daily. So let's pass these all. So we're gonna pass each array to a function that will build out the necessary template or something like that. Okay, so let's do that. So I think what I want, I'll just return a string from each of these. And again, I'm kind of creating a bunch of extra work by typing it out this way. So let's just leave it. Thinking through stuff that is a little bit more complex for me. It's hard to talk, so I know I haven't said anything of value in about 5 minutes, but let me take just a second and let's call this something like generate card HTML string or something like that, because I just want to remember exactly what I'm doing here. And really for each of these, let's see, and I think what I'll do is just spread into this, or have this as an array of arrays. So, or we have weekly or daily data. Let's do this. Let's actually pass it in as an object. And I'm going to pass in daily data like this, and this will be my daily data. Weekly will be my weekly data, and then monthly will be my monthly data. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to pass this all to a function, and I'm going to have these things as objects, and then I can basically loop through each of the objects by the title, and I'll know kind of what kind of data I'm receiving, and then the data should be consistent for each of those. So the 50 days, 50 projects. I don't know that I've done that. If I have, I forgot about it. So we'll take in an object here and see, we got daily, monthly, and weekly. And then for now, let's just console.log my daily, monthly, and weekly, make sure everything is being passed in properly. There we go. And I'm console logging twice, which is why I'm getting this in a couple different places, right? Console.log. Oh, no, I'm not. It's just stacking them up. Cool. What theme am I using? I think it's Pale Knight Operator or something like that. Theme. Pale Knight Operator. There we go. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to loop through each of these. So let's see if I'm doing this correctly, because I don't really need to pass it in like, I just want a single object. Let me just stop for a second and think through this. I'm just passing in a single object, so I can just call this data. What am I doing up here? So I'll just call this data, and then let's console log the data. Should be the same thing. Yeah, it's just an array, or it's an object of arrays. And then what I can do is object.entries, And this should actually give me an array, oops, of my data. So now I've got an array of arrays. And now what I can do, I guess I don't really need reference to that. I can just say for each time period or something like that, for each data point. Let's do for each time period. Then all I want to do is return a string, right? Like this. Okay. I'm making this way more complex than it needs to be, but for whatever reason, just thinking through this is hard to do out loud here. So all I'm going to do is basically drop this in and update all these items based on whatever it is that I get passed to me. So I think what we'll do, though, is actually make this a little easier on ourselves and grab reference to whatever the individual array is. Let's see where we at right here first. So let's do that. And then eventually I will return something here. Let's see, outside. Let's see. Let's take this as HTML string or something like that, and set it to that, and then I can return the HTML string. Okay. So now what I want to do is inside of each of these, the first thing I want to do is figure out what kind of data it is. So we'll call this time period equals time dot title, I think. Is that right? And then inside here, we'll say time.title undefined. Let's see what we're getting in here first of all. Console.log time. Okay, so it's an array with two things. The first is the name. So actually what I want is time 0, right? And then I can console like this, daily, weekly, monthly. Okay, so that's the title. And then let's see. Let's do, so we've got the previous, the yesterday, last week, and last month. I think that's the only other thing that changes, right? So what I can do is just say, let's call this measurement or time measurement, which again is probably not the best name here, but that's all right. And here what I want is let's just break this out, and I'm going to pass in my time period. So we're going to have a function here that just returns to us what this should be. So we'll say function get time measurement. It's going to take in time period. We'll just leave it at time. And then what I want is a time if, let's do a switch on the time. Let's do that. So we'll do another switch here. And here we'll say time. And basically there's going to be three possibilities. But we'll just end with a return if we don't have anything. But for now, let's see if this needs a colon. We'll do case, and in this case, we've got daily is one option, and then we've got weekly, and we've got monthly. Like that, and then actually for each of these two, we need a break. And then let's see, if it's daily, then I want to return yesterday. If it's weekly, I want to return last week. And then this will be last month. Okay. I think that should work. It didn't really need to be a switch statement, I guess. It could have been something else, but just normal if statement. But let's grab that. Last week, yesterday, last month. Okay. So now I think what we could do is, let's see, for each, maybe let's do this as a map instead, so that we'll get back an array rather than just doing it for each of the items. And then we can take our array and not flatten it. What do I want? Join it on nothing. And that way, normally an array, if I'll get it back as basically a straight string of text. At least I should. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is return good morning. Which font is looking super? Hey, thanks. It's Cascadia Code. It's free, and it's by Microsoft. So let's come in here like that, and then I think I can just pretty quickly loop through this data. I think I've made this way more complex than it needed to be, but time card. So what I'm going to do is come in here, and for this monthly, and maybe let's do this for all these. So for anything that says monthly on it, oh, I don't want that actually, just those two. Then what I'm going to do is take my time period, right? Like that. All right, so this should say tab monthly, tab weekly, tab daily, whatever. Let's see, and then ARIA hidden true. What I want is if time period equals, let's see, if it equals daily, then I want this to be set to false. Otherwise, I want it to be set to true. And so the reason I'm doing it this way is because the first one will always be the one to show. And so that should work for, if it's daily, then I want that stuff to show. Everything else should be hidden though. And we're just going to replace all this HTML, dump it in directly. So that should take care of that. Okay, so work, that should be the same. Current, previous. So what I'm going to do now is come in here, and I don't exactly remember the data I'm getting back. So let me check that one more time. Console.log, my time. So it's an array with 6 items in it. So what I want is to filter let's see. Maybe I can create another function up here. Retrieve time data, something like that. I'll take in an object. So what I'll do is I'll use this in each of these sections. So if I come in here, and I'm going to pass in here, let's see, as I'm looping through this, it's going to be, see, my time 1. And then in this case, dot filter. So what I'm going to do is filter by basically what the title is in the individual object. So what I've done is I've come into here, into this array 1, and then I'm filtering through this array and saying basically give me the thing that has give me the item that has the title of work. So filter, I'll do t dot title equals work. All right, and if I did this correctly, it shouldn't yell at me. So now what I'm going to do is come up here, and I should just get that whole thing back. So let's see. So I'm getting back this object that is just, and maybe what I really need is just that time. Nope. Let's see. It's an array of 0. So can I just spread that in maybe? Does that even work? Yeah. So now I just want the time. So if I come back up here, and now I just grab the time, then I get current previous. Okay, so let's do that. And what I'm going to do is not only take in the object, but also take in the because what I want is to know, do I want current or previous? So period or something like that. So then what I'll do is I'll say return, what did I just have there? Object at time. Return object dot time. And then what I want to know is basically, is it the previous or whatever? And I can pass this in as period like this, and that will be templated based on whatever. So let me just to double check that that's what I'm getting. Let's come in here, console.log that. And then I need to actually pass in a period as well, because right now it should give me nothing. So down here, after this, right here, I'll do current. And that should give me 5, 32, and 103. Cool. So what I'm doing is I'm basically using this class here to pass in exactly what I want. Here what I'm wanting is the current, and then down, oops. And then down here, what I would want, if I come in here, at this section would be the previous. So that should give me that number. All right, hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to visualize this. And then for this section right here, I want this to be a template string that is just my time measurement. Like that. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I think that's correct. And then we should be able to just copy all that down. So I'm actually getting back the hours or whatever. So let's come back up this way. I don't need a console.log this. So what I'm doing is I'm passing in an object, and then I'm saying, hey, do I want the current or do I want the previous? And that makes it easier when just templating out all this stuff. I think that's the only thing we really need to change. So what I'm going to do is grab this. Actually, maybe let's just grab all of this here. And time card amount will come down here. And I should be able to just replace this. Was I in? I think I just copied the paragraph tags. Yeah. And then I should be able to just come in here and change this and this to play. So I'm pretty sure that's the section we're in. Yep. Come down here to the next section. Time card amount, current and previous, and change this and this to a study. Here and here. Let's see. Change this and this to exercise. And here, change both of these to social. And lastly, but not leastly, this will be self-care. Okay, so I think that's correct. Let's see, 68. Console.logging that still. So now that I've returned this for each of those, and I've put them all into one single string, I should be able to, down here, back at the base of my fetch, let's see, I've generated that string. Let's just grab the card container. What was that called? HTML. Let's just see if it works, and if it doesn't, then we'll go back. But on the off chance that it worked, we need the payoff of how awesome this is going to feel. All right. So do I have this inside of anything? I don't really. So let's just have like panel container or something like that. Actually, this can just be an ID. Panel container. Oh boy. Let's collapse this. This is incredibly messy. Sorry. But let's grab this panel container over here. And what we'll do is document.query selector, and we're going to grab the panel container. Getting lost in all my stuff here. Dot inner HTML is going to be equal to that. Okay, moment of truth. Is there a chance we did something the first time? Hey, that might be a thing. And now I didn't add the hours, so we need to do that. No, I thought we had something. Panel, that's true. Area hidden false, area hidden true. Do those correspond here with these? Okay, so I think what I need to do actually, the problem is actually something else. It's that this up here, it can't reference the data here yet, and I could probably do the same here. But these panels, see, because I think I referenced these. Let's see, do I only really reference them inside there. So I think I can just move this like this. Yeah. So what was happening, it was grabbing reference to all those panels before they're in the DOM. And so you try to switch to it and it doesn't have anything to switch to. Okay, so that may be all we have to do. Now we need to add hours to the end of all these, I think. Let's look back at the final design. Yeah, 8 hours, 8 hours. Looks like some of this isn't laid out perfectly, but that's okay. I mean, we're not doing this for competition. This is for fun. And we've already changed up a bunch of stuff. So, all right, so let's come back to our app.js, close this down, and I think we'll pretty much call this done. What I need to do is come into here, and after this, add hours. So that shows right there. That's good. And maybe I'll just grab all of these like this and do hours. And then for all of these, same thing, add hours. Do I need a space there? Let's see. I don't know if that looks better or not. What did they have? Nope, no space. All right, well, forget that. Okay, so I think that's pretty much good. Weekly, monthly, and that's all working properly. We even set up keyboard events where we can kind of loop back around, and we're loading in all that data live. Now it's just client side right now, and we're just pulling from this JSON doc. I mean, we could set it up with something like JSON server, but it's literally just going to be a document like this. We're not writing to it or anything, so I don't know that that really is that helpful. But hopefully that was a help to you. If there's other things you see that we could do differently or better, let me know. Looks like some of our styling got kind of knocked off here. I'm not totally sure why that is. This spacing could be better. So let's figure out what's going on here. And then we'll call this good after that. So timecard amount. Let's come up to our CSS and search for that. Do I have that anywhere? Yes, I do. Let's do like a gap of, I don't know, 2 rem. Something like that. And that spaces that out a little bit better anyhow. Cool. I'm pretty happy with that. Come down here. And some of this might just be, see, this is a flex container. And it's 10%. I don't know if it gets any bigger. Maybe this tab panel section or panel container section could have a flex 0, 0 or 1, 1 and like 90% or I don't know, something like that. 80%. You know what? I probably had it on here somewhere. Yeah. Okay, so that's, I had that on there, and just since I changed this out, so panel container, let's open up the HTML. Let's also add a class with the exact same thing, and we'll style the class in CSS. And let's see, time card. We had 80% somewhere in here. There we go. Not there. Here. Maybe. Must have been another one. Yeah, here we go. Time cards. So here we'll grab the, what do we call that? Panel container. And I think that should fix our problem. Convention for naming classes. Yes, there are conventions. Am I good at it? No, I'm I'm pretty poor. So BEM is a very popular one. BEM. And one of these days I just need to do a video on it because that will help me solidify it. But basically you have the block, the element, and the modifier. That's what BEM stands for. So for instance, the block would be like the section, so like panel. And then if you have an element, it's just a single dash. And if it's a modifier, it's a double dash. So for instance, if I had multiple panel containers or something like that, I could come in here and this is the block, this is the element, and then I could do a double dash and do like blue or something like that. So when you're modifying an existing container, that's how that works. But there's more to it than that, and I'm not super consistent in how I do it for myself. So yeah. Now why is this not? Okay, one more thing, and then I promise we'll be done here. So we'll do align items stretch. Why is that not stretching? Let's see, is it because I'm flex direction column, so it should be justify, right? Let's try this. Justify items stretch. Nope. Space. Oh, I'm no longer. I'm now back to row, so that doesn't work anyhow. Align items center. Start. And then maybe it's inside here. This is these time cards. When I switched this thing around, it kind of messed everything up. So this needs to have take 100% of its parent container. No, that's not right. Justify align self stretch. I'm not exactly sure why it's not taking up that entire space that it could. The panel is, it's just the time cards are not. So align self stretch. Height 100% of its parent. So for my tab panels, I think that should work. There we go. Okay. Well, we're going to call that done for now. Adding in that extra div kind of messed up some of the styling, but at some point we're just wasting time now. So, but I had fun. I really enjoy doing these kinds of projects because they make me think about stuff I wouldn't otherwise do. I still don't know what these buttons do, and I still don't know why they wanted these as hover states earlier, but they don't ask me. They just put them up there. So I guess we'll just have to do with it. Now, I think these do technically wrap down below too, but I'm not going to worry about small stuff like that. I hope this was a help to you, especially the JavaScript stuff. Glad Jay Hanfeld, glad you could catch my live stream too. Yeah, I appreciate this. I enjoyed doing this. I think I'd said earlier, I think in a train of thought that I probably never finished, that my plan is to probably do one larger video a week going forward and live streaming twice a month. That's, I think, my preference because it allows me to spend more time learning and building actual stuff out. And then hopefully the content actually gets better, even if it's not as frequent. So that's kind of my plan going forward, but there's always a bunch of small tips or things that I run across. But I'm not trying to build an empire here. I really am just trying to learn to code better myself and to be a help to people. So, I can't make this my full-time job, nor do I want to. So at some point I need to kind of post as if that's the case. And also I'm starting to learn things that take more time for me. So it's taking away from the video content. But like I said, hopefully it will make the content better in the long run. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for watching and this kind of stream of consciousness stream. And hopefully between the last one and this one, it's been a big help to you. And I don't know, it's been pretty fun to do. It's nice to be able to get through our entire list. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and finish this thing out by marking off the final one. There it is. All right. Well, have a great day.